Well, good morning, Cornerstone. Hey, I thought I would give you a little tour of my trees since we had a story about trees this week. I'm standing underneath an oak tree, and look at that. Look how big that oak tree is. I got a watering bucket down there so he gets a big drink once a week. But here, this is an oak tree in my yard, and I've planted lots of trees around my yard. You guys want to see them? Let's see. This is a flowering tree, and if you've ever been to Washington, D.C., you'll know that in the springtime, the streets are lined with a very special flowering tree, and it's called a Yoshino cherry tree. So you can see it's springtime here, which is one of my favorite times of the year, and they have these little leaves are starting to come out, but what's going to come out on those leaves is a really, really pretty bright white flower. So I planted him, look how tall he is. He's going to get nice and big, but I planted him a year ago. This is one of my favorite trees, and it is ginormous. It's probably about 14 feet tall, but this is a really cool tree. This is called a tulip poplar. And so it's a nice big hardwood tree, but it has the coolest shaped leaves. See if I can show you here what these leaves look like. When they fold out, they look like little flowers. Just really, really cool. One of my favorite trees. This little guy is a silver maple tree, and I planted him a couple years ago, and he was only like that tall when I planted him. He was really tiny. But a really cool story about this tree is the day that my wife's grandpa died was the day that I planted this tree, and he loved Jesus, and he went to go be with Jesus. And it's really cool. We get to see this tree, and it's going to grow, and it's going to become huge. Actually, that one right there behind me, that ginormous one, that's a silver maple. So this little guy right here, he's going to get as big as that, which is just really cool. And we can always think and remember my wife's grandpa when we look at this tree. So very cool guy. Oh, this is really cool, guys. This is a little baby oak tree. And do you know where I got this? Have you guys ever been out to Sugar Grove Nature Area? Well, they plant a whole bunch of trees, and they had a whole bunch of oak trees left over. And so this is one of those oak trees. Now, this is a bur oak tree, and they take a very, very, very long time, but they can become some of the biggest and strongest trees. So someday when that guy falls down, this guy's going to take his place. He's going to be giant. Pretty cool. Guys, this is really cool. There's a squirrel in my tree, and he's talking to us. I don't want him to jump at me. Well, this is the biggest tree in my yard, and he is a ginormous tree. And that squirrel that we just saw, he's up in that tree. He has a nest up there, which is pretty cool. I think that's why he's talking to us. But this is a big, giant silver maple, and he will have thousands of leaves that will cover him, and he provides lots of great shade for our yard. Love this tree. All right, this is one of my favorite trees in our yard. This is an aspen tree, and these grow out in Colorado. And they are so pretty. They got a white bark, and they will get ginormously tall. And so this was a Mother's Day tree that we got for my wife. And there's a tree for each kid. I don't know if you can see. I'll have to back up a little bit. There's 1, 2, 3, and we have 3 kids. And look, there's Jordy. He's pointing to his tree.
No, this is Ezra's.
That one's Ezra's.
Mine.
That one's yours.
Because this one's taller than... Wait, actually, this one's Ezra's.
Yeah.
This one's me, because this one's taller.
Yeah.
And then this one's Yaj.
Joy. Yeah. All right. Cool. Last tree in the tour here, friends. This is a sugar maple. And if you've ever been out to Funk's Grove and you've maybe had some Funk's Grove maple syrup, you'll know that the trees that they use are sugar maples. And of course, these guys will become giants. So you'll probably see at some point, like when I'm an old grandpa, you won't even be able to see my house. There'll just be so many trees, which is so much fun. But anyway, in February each year, they will put a little screw in these trees, and all of the sap will run out. Random fact, this is really cool. It takes 40 gallons of tree sap to make 1 gallon of maple syrup. It's because they boil it and all the moisture comes out so that it becomes a thick syrup. But anyway, that is a sugar maple. Oh, there's Jordan up in a tree. Say hi, Jordan.
Hi.
Okay, so here we are back at my oak tree, which is where we started our journey this week. And I'm going to read for you about an oak tree in the Bible, which is just really, really cool. And this comes from Isaiah chapter 61. And Isaiah is talking about God's people. And this is just really, really cool. And at one point, he says in verse 3 that they will be called oaks of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he may be glorified. Now, this is really, really cool because an oak tree is one of the biggest and strongest trees. You know, remember from our story that she built a tree house in them, and oak trees can get ginormous and they are super strong. You can make lots of really cool furniture from them, but they're some of the strongest trees. Now, they're also some of the slowest growing trees. They take time to grow because their roots, down there, their roots have to get deep down into the dirt. And so what I love about that is that the people who maybe live here, maybe it'll be my children, maybe it'll be somebody else, but they'll get to enjoy the beauty of this oak tree when it's ginormous and big. And that's really important. The Bible says that we can be like those oak trees, that we can become big and giant and strong, and we will pass on our love for the Lord to the next generation. So think about that. Who's God put in your life that he wants you to tell about Jesus? And we will see that verse come true maybe in your own life when you get to become like a big giant oak tree and tell other people about Jesus. So, all right, guys, love you. Have a fantastic day.